Hi everybody, thank you for joining me. Today I want to share with you a couple of ideas I always had about how to handle privacy with email and collaboration solutions. So I will start telling you something about me and the reason I'm here in front of you. So I'm an old guy, as you can see. I'm working in this field since beginning of the century, I would say. And since the very beginning, I started working with two main topics. First one was privacy compliant. Second one was email and collaboration. To be precise, open source email and collaboration. So that's pretty much everything I did in the last 20 years. That's the reason I was wondering many times how to combine those two very different for, some aspects and very similar for others, technologies and rules. And I would say it's, you can see it as a cycle. Because at the end of the day, you are having, on one hand, email. Email is old. Email is 50 years old. Email, though, is growing. Someone is, and I'm hearing that for the last 20 years, someone is saying email is dying or email is dead for many different reasons. So I heard saying email is dead because we do have new platforms like Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever. But the main point is for having a Facebook account, you do need to have an email account. So for these and many other reasons, like using a tool for professional usage, for business, email today, always been, but is also today one of the most common communication methodology you're using, we are all using. Therefore, we are seeing this growing. And it is, the path is saying that it will continue to grow for the next years. On the other hand, we are seeing that not only emails as personal communication is growing, we are also seeing that business emails, as per companies using emails for business purposes, is growing. And the path is for growing the next years. So we need to consider this kind of technology as something that we always been using, we are actually using, and we will use for the next, I would say, at least decade. So it's relevant to understand how to deal with this new technology, because a lot of things is, happening. What is changing, and why I was speaking about a cycle. IT, for the old ones, is easy to understand. For the young ones, maybe it's not. But IT has always been a cycle. Since the very beginning, we moved from centralized systems to personal computer. Then we moved to centralized system again. So it's a cycle that is repeating itself. So where are we today in this cycle? What we are seeing, starting from, I would say, 2005, we are seeing the cloud phase for this cycle, meaning we are moving from a personal computer / on-premise solution toward a cloud solution / VDI solution. So you're not actually having computers with a lot of data today because all those data are somewhere else in the cloud. You're not having a lot of on-premise solution today because everything is somewhere else in the cloud. So first point, what is the cloud? Cloud is not, something ephemeral. Cloud is pretty much somebody else's computer. So what I just said means your data is actually pretty much in somebody else's computer. That's pretty common. Nobody is taking care about that, but could be a problem. Could be a problem for many different reasons. So, first reason is we're seeing this cycle going towards, I don't want to say the end, but I mean a kind of mature phase. So we're seeing that in the next 5 years, this cycle will be complete because the vast majority, with a very big V, will be into the cloud, aka in somebody else's computer. So I'm thinking today because, as I said, I'm taking care about email and collaboration, but also privacy. Is that fine? Are we okay with that? Are we taking care enough about that? We are seeing that today 75% is just a number, but it's giving an idea. 75% of your data is actually in somebody else's computer. In the next 3 years, it will be more than 90%. So it's not a little problem, it's, I mean, pretty much the reality. Again, on the other hand, we are seeing that these days we are having regulation about data protection, data sovereignty. So here's the topic. How to manage cloud and privacy. The main point is, if you are seeing in here, and we'll speak about Gartner, so we can say those numbers are, I mean, good ones, at least. We will see in the next 3 years. So during that cycle I just described, we will see on the other end that all the regulation, privacy regulation in the world, they will move from 10% that we are actually having today to 65%. So once again, let's try to think about those two cycles. First cycle, I said it's a mature cycle, meaning we are reaching 100%. 100% is not possible. As you know, you cannot have every single person in the world using the same path. There will be always some niche market or usage for, I mean, those kind of scenarios. So it's a kind of going towards the completeness. On the other hand, we are seeing this other cycle, the privacy cycle. I mean, people that is starting paying attention about their data. That is a new cycle that is starting, let's say, today. So, being Europeans, we know GDPR very well. The last few years, we are seeing a very strong position in Europe about the sovereignty and the protection. But I mean, the world is big. It's not just about Europe. Therefore, we will see this cycle moving from, let's say, just Europe to other states. So today we are seeing Singapore, we are seeing Canada, we are seeing South America. A lot of new states are starting taking care about their data. That's the reason Gartner is saying we are going to move from 10 to 65%. So we will see those two cycles in the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years that are going towards their completeness. And it's relevant because it means that the vast majority of the organization in the world, they will need to take care somehow about those two cycles. So they will need to consider cloud as an option. They will also need to consider privacy during this software selection or this, I mean, selection in general. It's not just about software, but I mean, we are here today speaking about software, so it's also a matter of software. Gartner is saying in the next 3 years, more than 80% will face, I mean, new requirement. So as you can see, this cycle is even faster than the other one, because the cloud cycle started 15 years ago. The privacy cycle started few years ago, but it will reach some kind of completeness in a shorter period. When a cycle is faster, usually it's because it's stronger. I mean, there's more attention, And in this case scenario, another interesting difference is the cloud cycle is more led by, let's say, private companies, while the privacy cycle is more led by, states, countries. So it's also stronger because it's not related to money, it's related to people, it's related to personal data. Am I the only one telling you this story? No, I'm not. There's plenty of well-qualified people in the world, European Data Protection Board, for example. They're telling us it's not easy to define, if you're choosing cloud, it's not easy to define where is correct to handle your data. Because speaking about technology for just a little bit, when you're choosing cloud, usually you're choosing a system or a service that is delivering you a result. You're not aware about how those data are handled or where those data are handled. So the vast majority of the time, those services are Americans. Not every single time. But I mean, it's the vast majority. So Facebook, Instagram, all the social networks, but also Gmail, Office 365, those companies are American companies. And the design of the system they're using is something the user is not knowing. So you are actually giving data to those companies to use a service you want, but you're blind because you are not aware about how those systems are actually working and how and where they're actually using your data. We also have some French guys speaking about that. I think you're all aware about Nous. It's just a couple of examples, random examples. There are plenty of those examples in the internet. I tried just to bring the most relevant because are, more, let's say, specific to this kind of topic. Privacy is usually written in a kind of legal language, so it's not very easy sometimes to understand exactly the meaning of the language that they're using. Therefore, I choose to use FAQ that are written in a way that is more for bringing these, laws into something that is understandable because it's related to something that we all know. So here the main point. We are having those two cycles, and we're seeing every single one of those is growing and is reaching its maturity in the next years. But how we can try to converge those two needs? Because on one hand, we do need some cloud because of a bunch of different reasons, costs, flexibility, whatever. On the other hand, we don't want to give away our data, and we don't know what they are doing with our data. I think you are all aware about data monetization. So it's common to read around sentences like, if they're giving you something for free, you are the product, okay? It means the company that is providing you the service for free, it has some commercial purpose for doing that. Because at the end of the day, being a company, they need to make money. So if they're not making money on the service they're giving to you, they're making money on something else, usually your data. That's fine, or could be fine, if you are, first of all, aware. Second of all, if you are a private person. It's your data. So your choice, no problem. The main problem we will have in the next future, and the main point about this question, is not for personal data, it's more for companies' data or for gov data. That is even worse, because at the end of the day, being in the public sector, as a gov agencies or healthcare agencies, whatever, they're not actually giving away their own data. They're giving away your data without your permission. So that's the tricky part and the part where we need to reconcile privacy with cloud. So the final question here is that relevant in the same way for everyone? I don't think so. As I said, it's very different for, personal data or individual data rather than for, gov agencies or healthcare or, other kind of companies. Therefore, is there here in this room someone from the public sector, gov agencies, I don't know, healthcare, whatever? This one is one of the most interesting sector, or at least one of the sectors that need to pay more attention in this kind of privacy-related regulations, because, as I said, they're not actually using only their data. They're using their citizens' data, their users' data. So that's one of the main points for GDPR and all the other regulations, where they're trying to create rules mainly for this kind of scenarios. They're trying to create rules or best practice for the ones that are treating sensible data. They're treating data that are about someone else. Another specific kind of company, for example, are regulated company, regulated enterprises. There's many different kind of regulation about enterprises, and it is usually depending on what the enterprise is producing. Could be aerospace, could be weapon, could be finance, fintech. There's a bunch of those. Depending on the country, there are specific rules about this, because those data are more sensitive than others. And you don't want those data are, going freely everywhere in the world without knowing where those data are. And for this reason, we also have some rules about how you can, ask to the company or ask to your healthcare provider, whatever, to handle your data. So another problem they will have, or you will have eventually, is how to be compliant with those regulations that are asking you, for example, to guarantee something like right to be forgotten. So a citizen or, someone that gives you his data is able to ask you to remove that data from your system. So if you're using a system you're not in control in, are you actually able to tell you can remove those data? I don't think so. Last but not least, service provider. So this cloud cycle is also showing a very interesting behavior in the markets for local service provider. So if we are saying we do need to provide some cloud solution, but we also need to give some warranty about that protection. One of the options we have is to look into the local cloud provider that are able to provide to you the service with a warranty of being compliant with some of those regulations. So, this is the actual, it's not a full list, but it's representing the actual offer for services through hyperscale service provider like Google, Microsoft, Zoom, whatever. Every one of us is using those services. The main point is every one of us aware how those services are handling the data we're giving to them? And more important, is that the only chance we have to consume those kind of services, or do we have other choices with a kind of warranty about how those data are handled? having a private solution at the end doesn't mean having an on-premise solution, because the cycle we just saw is a cycle that is telling us we are moving away in this cycle from on-premise solution because we are going towards cloud solution. So we can either be against the cycle and being among the few that are going to continue to use on-premise solution, or we can go for the cycle moving to cloud solution. But eventually, we will want to maintain those kind of solution private. Those are the three main options we have for considering how to handle our data. So we can choose a private cloud provider where even though we are using someone else's computer, at the end of the day, cloud is someone else's computer. I'm stressing the point, but I mean, it's very important to me. We can choose a private cloud solution because even though we are on someone else's computer, as I said, we have control on that infrastructure. So we will have control on how those data are handled and where those data are in the world, because we choosing the private cloud provider where to put those data. So we can be compliant, speaking about data sovereignty at least, we can be compliant knowing which country is the country we choose for putting our data. For sure, we can have a private infrastructure on a public cloud. It doesn't mean we can't use Amazon or Azure or other well-known hyperscale. Because in case we are having a private infrastructure on their cloud infrastructure, we are the ones that are actually choosing how the solution is shaped. So once again, how those data are handled and where those data are in the world. Last but not least, we can choose local provider. As I said, in this cycle, we are seeing a lot of new local providers that are starting just because they're seeing some demand from the market for cloud services with a certain kind of warranty about that sovereignty. Therefore, it's growing. This kind of market is growing a lot. And because the cloud cycle is reaching completeness, that pie we saw is not just about American hyperscale provider. A piece of that pie is also about the growing market, the growing segment of local cloud providers. What about security? So some of you will think, if I'm moving away from the services I love, like Gmail, 365, whatever you're actually using, Zoom, for example, whatever, I'm choosing those kind of services because those are very scalable, very flexible, very cost-effective. So do I need, for having more security, to have less scalability or less flexibility or a higher cost? Is that my trade-off in this kind of choice? No, it's not. There's plenty of different choices you can have for having private solutions that are going to provide to you the same kind of service, the same kind of scalability, the same kind of flexibility for the same kind of price. The main point here for me today is just to give you at least an idea, a start for looking around and finding if there's any solution you may consider that are not public cloud based / American based, in case you need to take care about privacy because you care as a person or because the company you're working for, being regulated, will need to. No, just said that. I'm saying that because I'm old. I'm saying that because I'm doing this in the last 20 years. And I'm saying that because we are actually helping something like 100 million users in the world to do that. I mean, it's doable. It's not about a small piece of the pie. It's not about a niche. It's not about a few group of nerds that want to maintain control on their data. It's a trend. It's a growing trend. And it's something that today, from that number we saw, we are speaking about billions of users, a small piece of those users are users we know personally, we help personally to achieve a service that is what they want, with a privacy approach that is what they need, because they need to, to follow the rules their state is, asking them. It's your data after all, so that's important. It's either meaning you can choose. So if you want to give your data to Google, it's fine, it's your data, if it's your data. It also means you need to take care about your stuff, your whatever. When I was young, mom was saying you need to take care about your bicycle, you need to take care about your shoes, you need to care about whatever. I'm saying here, even though I'm not your mom, you need to take care about your data, because it's your data. Once you give those data to someone else without control, it's not your data anymore, it's their data. If you want to see one possible scenario where you can solve those kind of issues and being privacy compliant, using client solution, or choosing to deploy the solution where you choose, I'm using choose a lot of time. I know I want to use choose a lot of time because it's all about choices. That's it, guys. So it's your data. Take care. Thank you.
Est-ce que certains ont des questions? Vous ne battez pas. Hein. Merci à tous.
Des questions? So maybe I have a question. It was quite clear what to talk about privacy, but frankly speaking, what are you selling?
What are we
What
selling?
is your business?
What is our business?
We are helping people. Well, we are a company that is, since 2010, producing solutions for email and collaboration. And when I say solution, I mean private solution. So everything we saw here today was pretty much what I'm doing, because I'm trying to combine being private with providing services, a full set of services, full set of functionalities. So the straight answer is an alternative to Gmail and Office 365 that is giving you the chance to control your data and to be compliant with your country's rule. So, thank you. If there's no further questions, I will wait you at the booth.
Thank you, guys. Again.
Thank you. Have a great one. Bye.